Shake your multivitamin, shake your multivitamins. Do they do anything? Nobody knows, but I'll put them through my whole mouth. Hello all of you little demons, Jules here for WhatCulture.com, back again with another episode of the awesomely named and awfully hosted Choose Your Own Adventure, the weekly medieval theme format where I, the Crown Jules of WhatCulture.com, take a list chosen by you, yes, you the person who has finally succumbed to the plague god Nurgle and has got Death Guard as his new Warhammer army. Take that, you ultramarine loving bastard, Dan! He also collects Warhammer as well. What a ledge! Yes, you get to decide which list I dole out to you each and every week, and this week we have none other to thank than EndorVet32 for their suggestion of video games that reward the silent dialogue options. Now this is the thing, when it comes to the YouTube algorithm, you gotta spice things up a bit, you gotta play with some alchemy to try and get the keywords working in your favor, put some of that wizard spice on the top. Just like that. So what I've done is I've changed the title slightly, and we're covering today video games that reward you for doing nothing. Now, some of you might remember that we've actually covered this before on Choose Your Own Adventure, so consider this an 8 more if you will, but we're probably going to use the same title anyway because we are wee little scampies. So let's take a look at them today. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 8 video games that reward you for doing nothing. Take a load off, my friend. Oh, and by the way, say hi to me here in the live chat and pop your suggestions for next week's episode down in the comments section below. And with that in mind, let's get on with this list, shall we, Dan? Number 8, Don't Rock the Boat, Telltale's The Walking Dead. Now, Telltale's Walking Dead video game series is a mansion built out of bricks made of weighty, often horrible choices, and it's a foundation that has served the franchise incredibly well over its tenure. Players love and hate in equal measure how the titles routinely pull the rug out from under them with scenarios that will see our favourite heroes placed in danger, and then it's up to you to play a horrible game of Sophie's Choice. And it's even more harrowing when expectations are upended routinely, and it turns out that by trying to save one of your best boys, you've actually doomed them and have spared a more annoying or hostile companion. It's like, oh god, there's a zombie attacking Jimmy the Flatulent and my mate Keith. I want to save Keith. Damn it. I've accidentally pushed Keith into the mouth of the zombie by trying to help him, and now Jimmy the Flatulent is going to be stuck with me in this very cramped, confined elevator. Therefore, it becomes readily apparent that taking stock of the situation before shooting your mouth off is going to be paramount, and it's here that you'll learn the subtle art of silence, which is actually a readily available option throughout the series. Now, normally saying nothing when somebody comes to you asking for advice or support is usually a bit of a bad thing, but here the game actually rewards you for staying silent, because then it allows the characters to act like a soundboard, and they basically just go, right, here's what I'm feeling, should I be going through with this? And you just go, who's to say? And they just go, okay, right, well, it is a zombie apocalypse, you are acting very strange, but at the same time, yeah, I probably shouldn't go through with smashing my mate over the head with a brick. Now, there are exceptions, of course, with some characters demanding loyalty, but for the most part, you can actually get the best outcome in these games by literally doing nothing. Number 7, Win the Game, Barney's Hide and Seek. Now, when you're making a game for children, accessibility and ease need to be the core concepts of your level design. After all, with a brain comprised mostly of pureed apple mush, Paw Patrol, and a deep-seated, ever-blossoming love affair with good old capitalism thanks to endless TV advertising, a child's brain isn't exactly the most complex thing going. So therefore, when you're designing a game for them, you have to basically go, right, this game's going to basically have to play itself now, isn't it? However, the Barney game for the Sega Genesis decided to perhaps go a little too far with its hand-holding in the sense that it physically rips all control away from the player should they idle for too long. You see, if the player leaves to... Dan, what's the equivalent of pop the kettle on for a toddler?
Well, as the dad of a toddler, they either cry or poop themselves. Why are you treating it so hard?
Yeah, or maybe like they cry because of the fact that they're holding 2 cookies in their hand and you say, no, you can't have another because you're holding the maximum amount of cookies that you can hold in your tiny hands, and they cry because of that. This actually happened to me in real life not so long ago, actually. I swear, kids, it's like they've got burst bubble wrap for brains sometimes. So yeah, let's just go with that and say that if the player stops to cry because of the aforementioned bubble wrap brain, they might find that Barney just moves on his own and actually completes the bloody levels for them. Seriously, if you were to put the controller down, this game actually completes itself. There's even a speedrun for this game designed around it called the Any Percentage No Controller Run, which sees the control pad literally removed from the console. Number 6, Shenmue 2. Barbershop Squirmin'. Ah yes, that's right, once again I get to talk about my favourite sounding video game, Shenmue, or Shenmue if you wanna be a pedant about it. Now, sometimes in life, when faced with a problem that seems insurmountable or indeed dangerous, it's best to approach the situation with a clear head, to read the scenario before taking action, as it's through understanding our environments that we may be able to make better judgment calls over just wading in and hoping for the best. Case in point, my girlfriend's nephew had his birthday party a couple of weeks ago, and yes, I had seen him scoff down 3 slices of birthday cake and quaff 2 pints of squash in rapid succession, and was heading towards the bouncy castle. Now, I was a clever man. I saw what was going to happen here, and no, I didn't want vomit on my clothes, so decided not to follow him. Admittedly, I probably could have told the other guests there and warned the parents, but still, that's their problem for not being aware. Oh, I'm the monster now, am I, Dan? Well, what say you of the horror show that was the barber scene from Shenmue 2? In a series that popularized, revolutionized, and ultimately killed the very concept of the QuickTime event, Shenmue threw tons of these moments at the player non-stop throughout its collective runtime, and as such, you developed by this point in the masterful sequel a lightning-fast reaction to nearly every button prompt that you were shown. But it was here in the barber shop of Shenmue 2 that you sealed your own doom, as if you failed to listen to the barber stating, "just bloody sit still, mate," then you'd actually fail this segment. You have to ignore the button prompts, the razor blade whizzing past your ears, and basically learn to stay calm in the face of danger in order to think about what's going on. It was a beautiful, if rather infuriating ruse indeed. Number 5, Infinite Shurikens, The Revenge of Shinobi. Up, up, down, down, left, right, BA. I seriously think that this code is ingrained in my brain so much that if I ever have kids, there's a good chance that I'll name at least one of them Konami code. At least one of them. But child cruelty aside, this really is the king of cheat codes and has become so enveloped in the public consciousness that it's appeared in multiple titles outside of Konami's oily grasp, as well as showing up in TV, film, and comics for years. That said though, all these button prompts sure do tire out the fingers, so what if I was to tell you that there was a cheat code out there that asked you to do precisely nothing and doled out a rather hefty reward for doing so? Well, come on my friend to the wonderful batshit and utterly bullshit world of the Shinobi games, which were harder than trying to eat a block of ice with your eyeballs and equally solid to the core. These were the hardest of the hard, the most challenging of the already punishing formative years of gaming, so crying to the skies for help on your knees was actually a rather common solution. Because remember, we didn't have the internet back then. Thankfully, the devs decided to provide an inverse situation to the challenging in-game action with this Infinite Shurikens cheat, which only required you to head to the options menu, turn your starting shuriken amount to 0, and wait about 20 seconds, upon which the symbol would turn into an infinite sign. And there you have it, infinite death discs, unlimited stabby business cards, and all-you-can-eat lethal wafer buffet, all for just doing absolutely nothing. How's that for a good laugh? What was this? What was that? Who's this? Number 4, Wario Land 2, a brand new game. Now, unlike some other entries on this list, which reward the player for staying silent during heated debates or by keeping their mouths shut during a tense situation, Wario Land 2 rewards the player by testing their patience and just how deep a sleeper they really are. You see, at the start of the impeccable handheld adventure that is Wario Land 2, Wario is dozing on his lavish bed, albeit strangely without a cover. I assume it's because it's been farted off him during the night. Ew. When all of a sudden, a noise more aggravating than Gilbert Gottfried with a twisted ankle begins to rumble through the castle. At this point, the player is prompted to, shut that annoying noise off by smashing his alarm clock to pieces. Why exactly it's in another room? No idea. Dan, any thoughts on this? You're an architect by trade, clearly. Obviously, he's a multi. He's like a Swiss Army knife of a man. But that is how the adventure usually starts. Now, I say usually because if you're deep into a shift at the Z factory and fancy an extra 40 winks, you can choose to sleep through this alarm, at which point the enemies of the game waltz into your room, pick you up, and hoof you out the bloody window. Now, most games at this point would give you a non-standard game over, but Wario Land 2 is a completely different breed entirely, because this actually starts off a brand new game with remixed levels, brand new enemies, and even an ending that is completely different, all for just doing absolutely nothing. Talk about replay value, my mate. Number 3, solve a puzzle without moving. Uru Ages Beyond Mist. Now it's here that I turn to my lovely assistant Dan, who is going to show you all some beautiful footage of the one and only Mist game. Ah, look at it. The God's slideshow. Talk about frame rates, because it has a few of them. Yes, look upon the jankulous glory that is Mist, where each image has been carved into the earth itself to preserve its glory forevermore. This was my and many other oldie-timey gamers' childhoods, and I know that there are probably many wispy-bearded geeks nodding in approval at its inclusion on this list. But before I talk about this Mist-adjacent game, Uru, let's just clarify something here. These games are brilliant, bewildering, and absolutely infuriating at times. And when I speak about these games, it is from a place of love, but it's that kind of love that you only have for, like, I don't know, an aging cat who routinely pukes up on the carpet and soils itself everywhere and claws your favourite jumpers. You love it, but you know that it can be an absolute bastard at times. Yet at least the puzzles within these games weren't as cheeky as those found within Uru Ages Beyond Mist, a game that featured not one but 2 puzzles within its heady broth that tasked the player with standing absolutely still, and one of these requiring you to do so for 15 bloody minutes. I mean, come on man, when I was playing these games through for the first time, even the thought of staying still was enough to make my blood itch. So to do this as a kid without telling them to do so, well, that was akin to pure torture. But there we go. If I just shut up and listened for once in my life, I would have solved these 2 puzzles. Number 2, glaring silently. Tyranny. Now, for those not in the know, Tyranny is a video game that is all about being the best, worst person that you can be, and goes out of its way to reward players for reveling in morally dubious choices. However, let's face facts. Being evil is pretty bloody stressful, at least it was for me, as making said choices usually came with a wash of fear sweat. After all, I was so willing to stab others in the back, sell grannies down the river, and practice my rugby conversions with puppies that it started to dawn on me that there was probably somebody waiting in the wings to do the same to me and my puppies. Therefore, it was with a sigh of relief that the devs decided to put in the now much memed option of glaring silently. After all, it's actually the first thing that they teach you in pay negotiations, and you should probably actually take note of this if you've actually got some coming up with your bosses. Let them start the conversation, let them make the first move, because at the end of the day, the uncomfortable nature of just sitting there staring at somebody silently, it's enough to make them play their hand a lot sooner. It's not a foolproof tactic, I will admit, but still, it can get the ball rolling in your favour. Can. Plus in the game it kind of works a little bit like this. So boss, we've captured some enemy soldiers here. What do you want us to do with them? Right, okay. You want me to kill them? Right, okay. I'll go do that then. You see what just happened there? I said absolutely nothing, admittedly, to myself just then, but it got the job done in rather horrific ways. Actually, don't kill them, by the way. Don't actually do that. Dan's gone missing, and I'm worried now. Is he back? He's over here. Fantastic. Cool, we can carry on. But this is the point here. Glaring silently gets the job done and doesn't actually technically get you in hot water doing it. And trust me, there are a lot of hidden rewards in the game that come from glaring silently. For example, by choosing this option, not only does it get progressively more and more hilarious as characters question why you're not talking, but also means that you don't piss off some people, as it counts as the game's neutral option. And come the late game, keeping those underneath you on your side and questioning why you refuse to speak, well, it creates for a brilliant moment of ruling through fear and utter confusion. And number 1, Watch Me Dance, Monster Party. Now, to call the Nay's title Monster Party a bit of a weird game is kind of like saying that those who called the teacher mum in class are going to be a bit ridiculed by the time the lesson is over, aka a massive understatement. Ooh, I just got some flashbacks there. Fantastic stuff. I say this because while the moment-to-moment gameplay might suggest your typical action-adventure platformer, when it came to the boss battles, of which there were a metric shedload in this game, things go off the rails so hard that I can definitely confirm that there are going to be 0 survivors with regards to your brain matter. For example, try and wrap your head around the moment that you arrive at a boss arena only to find the monster in question begging for you to leave it alone, before then launching a deadly pumpkin assault at you which will obliterate your health in seconds. Leave you alone, mate, you leave me alone. Or how about the monster that when you just show up to its arena, it says, I am dead. And it is, and then rewards you. But that's not even the only case of a monster where you can beat it by doing absolutely nothing. Because you will also come across 2 zombies that will ask you to simply watch them dance, after which they'll shamble and prance about the screen before dropping to the floor and giving you a reward. Now, it's not entirely clear if you were standing here by choice or you were just completely stupefied by the request, the events that just happened, and the fact that you won by doing absolutely nothing. But either way, you did absolutely win by doing absolutely nothing. Hey, me old mucker, he's back again. All right, geez. And there we go, my friends. Those were 8 video games that reward you for doing nothing. I hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comment section below. As always, I've been Jules. You can go follow me over on Instagram, where it's @RetroJ, but the O is a 0, and I hope to see you over there, my friend, and you can come check out all of the Warhammer miniatures that I've been painting, and yes, I am a nerd. And you can also check out Dan Durkin's social medias over here. What a lovely sort he is, eh? But before I go, I just want to say one thing. As I mentioned before, or at least hinted at in one of the previous entries, sometimes in life, the best decision is to actually do nothing, especially when faced with a stressful situation, because you know what? It allows you to gain some rest, it allows you to relax, it allows you to re-energize yourself and potentially gain some perspective, which is incredibly important in our lives. So don't rush bullheaded forward into problems just hoping to solve them with energy and gusto, because sometimes actually stepping back and planning your actions is a much better thing to do. And it can also help you realize when you may need to ask for help from people like your friends, your family, professionals in the support industry, because these people care about you and want you to do well. So learn to take the foot off the gas, my friend, and enjoy the scenery. Big love to you. As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome, you massive ledge, and I'll see you next week. Bye.